Hello, welcome back. So we've practiced our kind of basic sketching, looking at proportions of things within boxes, deciding where lines should go. We've looked at fillets and we've looked at chamfers. We're going to try and put them into practice now. So I'm going to take that away and I'm going to start with an object. Now I'm going to start with this little bottle here. Now if I look at the bottle, I can see if I take my pen and I look at the size, let's have a little look. So the size of that is, that's about 1, 2 1/4. So it's 2 1/4 times the height than it is across the base. So the proportion of that I've worked out. So I'm going to start off by sketching a rectangle that has those proportions. So I'm going to do this, and whatever size I make this, I then have, that's my kind of starting point, and I have to then start to work out, my sizes from there. So I'm going to take my pen, and it's going to be 1, 2, let's see, and about 1/4 of that, half, quarter to about there. So that is the size for my initial rectangle. And this is where people usually go wrong. They start and they end up with something that's either too long or it's too squat. Now I've decided that if I look at that, 1 to there, 2 to the top of the bottle. So if I go to that, that is the kind of top of my bottle. That's this bit here. So I need to then start thinking about, if I look at that in comparison to that, that's about halfway. So half of one of them is about there. So that's the shoulder of my bottle. Now because this is symmetrical, I'm going to put a center line down the middle. So I'm going to make sure I have a nice center line down the middle like that. Okay, so I've got the top of here, which is that bit. I've got the shoulder, which is that bit. And I can see that probably if I come down to there, from between there and there, that's about halfway between the two. So if I take that as being that white collar bit there. So I'm going to look at this. Let's have a little look. That's about half, or just over half. So if I take that as half of that, I could put half of that on that side and half of that on that side, like that. Now I can see straight away that that is much bigger than that. So I've got two choices. I'm going to move that out a little bit. Yeah. So now I've got my points kind of plotted. I can start to think, well, that comes in, then it steps in. How far does it step in? Probably about 1/3 of that total, like that. And I've got this corner here. Now let's look at that. Now that is probably too big. So I'm going to take it up a little bit. Yeah. These have a fillet on them. So again, from my previous lesson, I'm going to think about drawing that in. Take that across. And do the same at this side. And I have a small fillet at the bottom. So again, a smaller square. Project that across. Okay, this is still light. I'm still construction, still looking at my sizes, my proportions of each bit. Now, if I'm like that, let's have a little look at this. Now, the top we can see here is probably about, if I take that in there, it's probably about 3/4 of the way across. So if I divide that up, so it's there, so 3/4 of that line, half of that line, 3/4 of that line, and it's going up like that. Now it's got this curve on the top. Now I can see that that's probably too thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that in a little bit. So it's an evaluation thing. I'm always thinking, is that too thick? Is that too thin? How does that look against the other bits? And I've got, again, I've got my third, and I've got my third, like that. So let's have a little look at that for my bottle. So it's not too bad. I would say perhaps, this little bit here needs to be a little bit thicker. You can see it's got a little lip on there, so I'm going to put that little lip in. I can see that it curves here. It's not straight, so I'm going to put a curve, a little fillet on there, like that. I can see that it has a little fillet here, so I'm not going to bother with I'm just going to add a little fillet in like that, and I can see that this bit slopes in just a little bit, like that. Now you got to remember, this isn't art. This is, we draw as designers, so we're trying to get information across. Now I could put dimensions on this, I could, it's just another way of communicating. So I would be happy with that for my bottle. So thanks, I'll leave this one here.